The first college football playoff was an overwhelming success, with number 4 Ohio State defeating number 2 Oregon in the national championship game, though it was not without its controversy, like the dramatic fall of TCU despite winning their final game overwhelmingly. Because of this, I have decided to conduct an 8-team playoff in the NCAA 14 using the 2014-2015 rosters found on Operation Sports. The 8 teams included are the Power 5 conference champions, number 1 Alabama out of the SEC, number 2 Oregon out of the Pac-12, number 3 Florida State out of the ACC, number 4 Ohio State of the Big Ten, and number 5 Baylor out of the Big 12, who won the head-to-head matchup between them and TCU. I also included 2 at-large contestants, number 6 TCU of the Big 12 and number 7 Mississippi State of the SEC. And finally, I had a group of 5 representative, number 20 Boise State out of the Mountain West Conference. We start things off at the Independence Bowl between number 1 Alabama and number 20 Boise State. Alabama strikes first with this field goal midway through the first. They would then add to the lead with this O.J. Howard touchdown reception. Early in the second, Boise State finds Dallas Burrows deep for a 74-yard touchdown, trimming the Tide lead to 3. Alabama strikes back with a big player of their own, a 79-yarder to Christian Jones to bring the lead back to 10. Midway through the second, Blake Sims finds DeAndre White for his 3rd touchdown pass of the half. At the end of the first half, Boise attempts a short field goal, but somehow miss it. Alabama goes into halftime, up 24-7. Midway through the third on a 4th and 11, Blake Sims finds Amari Cooper for his 4th touchdown pass of the day. On Boise State's following drive, quarterback Grant Hendricks' pass is intercepted. On 4th and 7, Blake Sims finds Christian Jones for the 1st. That 4th down conversion led to this Alabama field goal. Alabama wins it 34-7 to advance to the college football playoff semifinal game at the Sugar Bowl versus the winner of the Sun Bowl between number 4 Ohio State and number 5 Baylor. We now move on to the Holiday Bowl between number 2 Oregon and number 7 Mississippi State. Mississippi State starts off the scoring with this 8-yard Dak Prescott touchdown pass. Oregon cuts the lead to 4 with this field goal. Midway through the second, Dak Prescott finds Robert Johnson at the back of the end zone for his 2nd touchdown pass of the day. Mississippi State takes an 11-point lead into halftime, up 14-3. Oregon scores its 1st touchdown of the day with this 3-yard touchdown run. Dak Prescott responds with a touchdown run of his own, his a 23-yarder. Later in the quarter, Mississippi State scores again, this time with a field goal. Early in the 4th, Dak Prescott scores again on a 14-yard carry. Midway through the 4th, Oregon scores on a 27-yard touchdown pass. They elect to go for 2, but Marcus Mariota is stopped short of the goal line. Mississippi State closes out the game with another Dak Prescott touchdown run, with about a minute left. Mississippi State wins it 38-19 to advance to the college football playoff semifinal game in the Rose Bowl, between the winner of Florida State and TCU in the Tax Slayer Bowl. Speaking of the Tax Slayer Bowl, we now move on to it, between the defending national champion number 3 Florida State and number 6 TCU. After a scoreless first, TCU starts the scoring midway through the second with this Trayvon Boykin touchdown scramble. TCU would take that 7-point lead and a shutout into halftime. TCU would add another score late in the third on a 4-yard B.J. Catalon touchdown run. Early in the 4th, TCU would take a 21-0 lead after another Trayvon Boykin touchdown run. On their following drive, Florida State scores their 1st points of the day with this Jameis Winston to Ermine Lane touchdown pass. Florida State would avoid the shutout, but not the upset, as TCU advances to the college football playoff semifinal game at the Rose Bowl against number 7 Mississippi State following a 21-7 victory over the reigning national champions. We now move on to the final college football playoff quarterfinal game in the Sun Bowl between number 4 Ohio State and number 5 Baylor. Ohio State and Cardale Jones start off the scoring early in the first with this 9-yard touchdown run. Ohio State would follow that up with this 6-yard Rod Smith touchdown run midway through the first. Cardale Jones would then hit Evan Spencer for a 41-yard score on their following possession. Following that, Ezekiel Elliott would then score from 2 yards out. Then midway through the second, Cardale Jones throws his 2nd big touchdown of the day. Ezekiel Elliott then follows that up with his 2nd touchdown of the day. Bryce Petty would then throw an interception on the first play of the following drive. That interception would lead to this OSU field goal. Ohio State leads it 45-0 at the half. In the second half, Baylor would avert the shutout but give up an additional score, leading to Ohio State's 52-7 throttling of them, to advance to the college football playoff semifinal game at the Sugar Bowl versus number 1 Alabama. As both number 1 Alabama and number 4 Ohio State participated in the real 2015 Sugar Bowl, the same result occurs, and number 4 Ohio State upsets number 1 Alabama 42-35 to advance to the national championship game. We now move on to the final college football playoff semifinal game at the Rose Bowl between two underdogs who had to pull off big upsets to get here, number 6 TCU and number 7 Mississippi State. Near the end of the first, TCU would open up the scoring with this field goal. Mississippi State would follow that up with a big throw from Dak Prescott to Robert Johnson to get inside TCU's red zone. They would capitalize off that play with this 7-yard Josh Robinson touchdown run. Mississippi State would then follow that up with another big play midway through the second, this time scoring on it. TCU ends the half with this 1-yard Trayvon Boykin score. Unfortunately for TCU, that was the end of the scoring for both teams, and Mississippi State would win 14-10, advancing to the college football playoff national championship game against number 4 Ohio State. We now move on to the final game of the season, the national championship game, between number 4 Ohio State and number 7 Mississippi State. Mississippi State attempts to open up the scoring early with this field goal, but they end up missing it. On the ensuing Ohio State drive, Cardale Jones scrambles on a play, but is injured, bruising his hip, which will keep him out for about 2 quarters. In comes fourth-string quarterback Stephen Collier, and if he's anywhere near the quality of the 3 ahead of him, OSU is in fine shape, and he starts off with a handoff to Zeke Elliott for a gain of 8. Later in the drive, OSU is in a 4th and 5, and Collier overthrows his target in the end zone, forcing a turnover on downs. Mississippi State puts up its first point of the game in a form of this field goal early in the second. On their next drive, Dak Prescott attempts a wide receiver screen, but the OSU corner jumps the pass, picking it off and returns it all the way for an Ohio State touchdown. At the end of the first half, Dak Prescott goes deep, but the pass is picked off, ending the half. Early in the third, Dak Prescott hits Gus Wally for the score and the lead. Cardale Jones is back under center looking to get the Buckeye offense moving, and he does, finding Dontre Wilson for a 78-yard score. Mississippi State responds with a 7-yard Nick Griffin score early in the fourth, reclaiming the lead. Ohio State fires back midway through the fourth with a 3-yard strike from Cardale Jones. They then just about clinch the game with his 40-yard Dontre Wilson touchdown run. He's at the 30, he's at the 20, to the 10. Touchdown. And they do, winning the national championship 28-17 over Mississippi State. Despite the inclusion of 4 additional teams, Ohio State still comes away with the national championship, but this time with a win over Mississippi State instead of Oregon. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please feel free to leave a like, and if you enjoyed this kind of style of video, please subscribe because there will be more in the future. Thank you for watching.